I don't necessarily think there's been a shift between the two brothers, but there has absolutely been a massive decline in Prince Harry's popularity. And as a result, I think people are turning more to Prince William, so his popularity has increased. It's always interesting to me because there's been a huge difference for so long between how British people view Harry and Meghan and how American people view Harry and Meghan. It used to be very much that I would speak to people in the UK who would kind of say, oh, how could they? How could they do that to the royal family? And so on and so forth. Whereas I think people in the US were much more forgiving. They really wanted to celebrate that kind of fairy tale princess story that Meghan seemed to be living out. And they were devastated for her when that fairy tale turned into a nightmare, at least as far as she was concerned. But I think that people over time, even here in the US, have grown tired of the two of them. They've grown tired of the constant attacks on the royal family. Everyone's a little bit confused about what it is that Harry and Meghan are really doing right now. And I think there is also a bit of a perception among some people that they're kind of trying to turn themselves into celebrities, but in doing so are becoming kind of clingers on, which is a bit uncomfortable, I think, for everyone. So William is doing what William has always done. He's being incredibly dutiful to his role as a royal, but at the same time, he's also allowing himself to enjoy that a little bit more. It's been a really rough few years for the royal family and for William in particular, and it's so wonderful that we're able to see him now cutting loose a little bit, dancing at the Taylor Swift concert, and really just enjoying what has been a difficult time, but also a time filled with great opportunity for him. William has always been a very kind of stoic, nice guy, and I think that people really enjoy that. But what we've been able to see from William over the past few months especially is a much more personal side to him. We've seen a man whose father and wife are both suffering through cancer at the same time, and yet William has not let it stop him. He's missed one event during the entire time that all of this has been going on, while his wife has been having surgery, then undergoing cancer treatment. His father's been having cancer treatment. And rather than kind of shirk his duties or take time off, which I think he would be very much entitled to, William has not only kept going, but he has also stepped up in order to fill in for both of those really important figures. And I think a lot of people are looking at him and just thinking, wow, how is this guy doing it? And then on top of that, he's also finding the time to take his two oldest children to a Taylor Swift concert. And rather than doing the classic dad thing of perhaps sitting in a corner on his phone, he's up there in the front row taking selfies with Taylor and, you know, doing his weird dad dancing. I don't see how you could fail to appreciate the amount of effort and energy that he is putting in, not only to keeping his own little family going, but also to keeping the royal family going. I mean, any dad who has young children, especially young children who are fans of Taylor Swift, will know that it's almost a rite of passage, I think, that you go to a Taylor Swift concert with your children. But I do think that a lot of dads might kind of stand there a bit awkwardly. They might maybe be on their phone. They might be rolling their eyes at all of the beaded bracelets, but not William. Even though he is one of the most kind of refined, well-mannered people I've ever come across in my entire life, when it came to the power of Taylor's music, he could not help but cut loose. He was up there dancing. There's this fantastic video of him in a box. You know, George and Charlotte are just kind of there like, woo, but no, William's, he's there and he's doing all this. And I just think it's wonderful to see that. And then on top of that, you've got a selfie that I don't think anyone ever saw coming, which is William, Taylor, George, Charlotte, and then Travis Kelce in the background. And, you know, I think the merging of those two worlds is just so exciting and so bizarre that people have become even more invested in William, in who he is. He's earning the love of the Swiftie fandom, which, as we all know, is a very powerful thing. So I think that's absolutely helped to, yes, boost his popularity, but also kind of present him to an entire new audience of fans. You know, William has met his fair share of celebrities over the years, so I have no doubt that he's been called some interesting things during his time in the royal family, but I certainly wouldn't have put it on my bingo card for this year that NFL star Travis Kelce first and foremost would become Taylor Swift's boyfriend, but then he would be hanging out with Prince William and calling him a cool mother effer. Oh, this video of Prince William dancing, I mean, Kim Kardashian and her champagne cork need to take a step aside because this broke the internet. People went gaga over it. And the crazy thing is, a lot of the reaction was incredibly positive, even if there was some slight mockery. You know, the phrase dad dancing, I think, was used about 1 million times. But people just really seem to enjoy the fact that he's able to cut loose. As the future king, there are rules and traditions that William has to live by. You know, Harry was always the crazy younger brother, the one who was allowed to get away with whatever he wanted, while William had to kind of adhere to these very strict traditions, these regulations. Everything from what he wore to how he acted to what he said were all pretty closely governed by that lifestyle. So these rare moments where we get to see William really cutting loose, relaxing, and just enjoying himself, they are rare, but when they happen, they are wonderful. And I think, interestingly, you also have to draw a comparison between William dancing at that Taylor Swift concert and those videos and pictures of Harry at the Beyonce concert looking like he wanted to just shrink into the ground and disappear. And I think when you look at the kind of stereotypes of the two brothers, Harry being the kind of wacky, carefree younger brother and William being the stoic future king, it's almost like there's been a role reversal. Well, first of all, William has been doing more events, engagements, you know, official royal duties than I think anyone could ever imagine, because the truth of the matter is the senior royal circle is very small right now. In addition, we've also seen Princess Anne in hospital recently after she had an accident. So William has kind of been fielding the majority of major events, particularly those that his father can't go to because of, you know, health risks or health issues. Kate is normally always by William's side. And the two of them have figured out a really wonderful balance over the years. You know, they both have their roles to play in official engagements. Kate is obviously the one who's kind of speaking to all of the mothers, and she's, you know, reaching out to all of the women and the young children and things like that. And William has had to do much more of that, you know, in order to avoid alienating the public at this really difficult time. William has had to be much more open. He's had to share parts of his life with these people who he's meeting in the public. And I think it's been really wonderful to see because it shows that he can, you know, allow himself to open up just a little bit more than he has perhaps in the past. I think Kate's praise of William just reaffirms to everyone the role that he is playing in this. You know, we've talked, understandably so, about Kate and her battle and everything she's going through and everything her children are going through. But I think that credit needs to be paid to William because not only is he dealing with the royal stuff, but then at home, he has a wife who is going through an incredibly tough health battle right now. It was wonderful to see her at Trooping the Colour, looking every inch just the incredible royal that she is. But I think behind the scenes, she said it herself. There are good days and there are bad days. And the bad days, I feel so weak I can't get up. I have to just lie there and rest. Anyone whose family member has been through an illness like that knows how heartbreaking it is to watch them suffer and to watch them struggle. And I think that William supporting Kate however he can, not just out in the public eye, but also behind closed doors, is something that he should be given full credit for. So Prince Harry is currently in the midst of pursuing a case against a newspaper in the UK. He and 40 other people have accused the newspaper of phone hacking. The trial is not due to begin until next year. However, both sides are kind of presenting evidence at the moment and so on and so forth. One of the most recent developments was that the judge asked Harry to provide an explanation for why he had seemingly deleted a host of messages that he exchanged with the ghostwriter of his autobiography, Spare. Now, this ghostwriter had said, Harry and I texted all the time, nothing was off the table, we talked about everything. And as you know, if you've read the book, you know that a lot of personal detail was in there. Now, these text messages were exchanged between 2021 and 2023. Harry first launched this case against the newspaper in 2019. So the judge has asked Harry to provide a very transparent reason for why these messages would have been destroyed, because he believes that they likely contained evidence that would have been very pertinent to this case. I think Harry receiving an SB, it really once again feeds into the idea that Harry and Meghan are trying to cultivate a role for themselves, less so as ex-royals and more so as celebrities. I think in an ideal world, what Meghan would like, for example, is to be the next Oprah. You know, if you kind of took Oprah, you took, you know, let's say Martha Stewart, and you did this in terms of their careers, I think that's exactly what Meghan would like to do. She would love to have the influence that Oprah has, but I think she would also love to have the empire that someone like an Oprah or a Martha Stewart has. Meanwhile, Harry, I think he's still figuring out exactly what it is that he wants to do. He's dipped his toe in a number of different things. There have been philanthropic projects. He's really been working hard in order to navigate the idea of kind of social media in the modern world, how that affects mental health. He's doing a lot of stuff for mental health awareness, but he doesn't really seem to have nailed down his passion as far as a career is concerned. The two of them have their Netflix deal. They're both currently working on projects to do with that. Harry is making a documentary series about the glamorous world of polo, while Meghan is working on a series that is more lifestyle focused and will celebrate things like food and hosting and all of that kind of stuff. But I think the truth is they are going to reach a point where they're going to need to figure out their career game plan. And I don't think either of them are quite sure what that means, particularly what it means for them as a couple, because the truth is their brand is them as a pair. You know, they're like Victoria and David Beckham. It would be very hard to separate the two of them and still have them be commercially successful. And I think that they have such different interests, they have such different passions, so they need to work out how they combine those in order to continue earning money. My hope is that Harry and William will at least make some steps towards reconciliation. Do I think that they are going to return to the close bond that they once shared? Absolutely not. In my opinion, too much has happened. Everything I have heard suggests that William is not only angry, he is very hurt, and that the more time goes on, the more silence that exists between them, the bigger the rift between them becomes, and it is very soon going to reach a stage where that rift cannot ever get narrower. Now, I think if certain steps were to be taken, if things were to be handled very delicately, I think that they would start working their way back towards one another, but certainly the way that things exist right now, I don't see it happening. However, I don't think that William would kind of put it out there in such a blunt way. I think likely what he will have said is something along the lines of, no, I don't see Harry returning to the family. I don't think William would ever be so brash, at least not officially, as to put up a metal gate and ban his brother forever. It's incredibly sad that Harry hasn't seen Charles. You know, he's seen him once for 30 minutes since Charles was diagnosed with cancer. And I think, once again, it comes back to that need for sensitivity. It's all very well and good doing the big grand gesture, hopping on a flight as soon as you hear about the diagnosis and rushing over to the UK. But it's one of those things that you kind of do in the moment, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, no one's home. Or, you know, this surprise didn't work out, or whatever it is. And I think that with Harry, he's always been much more emotionally motivated. He kind of allows his emotions to guide him. And he made this kind of very sudden snap decision to fly over to the UK. And, you know, he gets there and his dad's like, well, I'm busy. You know, I've got treatment, I've got an engagement, I've got so on and so forth. I think what would have been the much more sensible thing to do was for Harry to pick up the phone, speak to his dad, say, I really want to come and see you. I really want to come and help you through this. Let me know how I can help. Let me know the best time to be there. And I'll come over for 3 days. I'll come over for 4 days. During Harry's most recent trip, schedules supposedly prevented them from seeing one another. But if it was me, I would have tacked on an extra 2 days. I would have arrived in the UK 2 days early. If my dad had said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm busy these 3 days, I would have said, no worries, I'll come 2 days early. I think it's that kind of level of compromise that nobody is willing to make. It's both sides are being so stubborn at the moment that they're not willing to kind of bend in any way, shape, or form to, you know, kind of get things going as far as a reconciliation is concerned. And truly, I believe it's going to need to be Harry who makes those, you know, kind of gestures towards the rest of his family, because at the end of the day, he's the one who picked up, left, and severed ties with his family, not only in theory, but on live television in an interview with Oprah. A part of me hopes so, because I think that without prying eyes, it is much easier. But in order for that to happen, you know, it can't be, there's a big Invictus Games event, and it can't be, oh, I'm going to get on a commercial plane and you know, everyone's going to see me in first class or whatever it is. So I think that, again, it needs to be managed very sensibly. It needs to be kind of planned out with a lot of different details kind of lined up. And that's not going to happen in 12 hours or whatever time frame we're looking at. It needs to be something that is slowly being worked on behind the scenes, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's like trying to arrange an audience with the president. You can't just do that if you don't work in the White House. And Harry doesn't work in the palace anymore.